how churches are adjusting their Ash Wednesday traditions to keep up with COVID-19 safety guidelines.
Plus, out of this world, how an Arizona researcher is taking part in a NASA mission to unlock the secrets of the universe.
And later this half hour on Break It Down, the nostalgia of TV shows from the past.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sedona Meadows.
And I'm Ivory Ward. Thank you for joining us.
Arizona school kids may have thought it was too good to be true, and they were right. Turns out those reports that the state was not going to give out letter grades this year apply only to the schools themselves, not to students. Jake Holter has the sobering news from our Washington bureau.
When Governor Doug Ducey signed House Bill 2402 into law this week, he said in this letter that it would provide, quote, some flexibility around the state's A to F letter grade system. He meant the letters that applied to a school's performance, not to its pupils. But not everybody picked up on the finer points. The thought that her two daughters might not get grades did not sit well at all with Phoenix mom Lori Warachek. She thought skipping grades was, quote, not the right way to approach it.
The general idea of no grades, pass, fail, to me is not fair to the kids who really care and are trying.
But Arizona Representative Michelle Udall clarified that her bill suspends letter grades for schools, not students. She told Cronkite News that, quote, suspending letter grades for students would cause serious problems with college admissions and preparation for future courses. The school grades that Udall's bill is aimed at are determined by scores that students get on the AZ merit tests. When he signed the bill Monday, Ducey also signed an executive order telling schools to keep the results of this year's standardized tests so schools can measure their progress down the road, even if they don't get a letter grade to go with it. Once she understood that, Warachek backed this plan.
I think that's a brilliant idea because it would be nice to get a perspective on the impact that the pandemic and virtual learning has had on the learning and the kids' ability to be successful or not in this school year. I think that's fantastic.
The more data we can get on this, the better, she says. Sergio Chavez, the president of the Arizona Parent-Teacher Association, has no doubt that there has been a quote-unquote learning loss during the pandemic and cites the physical distance between student and teacher as a major factor.
So if you give me an assignment and you already pre-recorded your information on it and that's what it is, and if you don't really quite understand it though, it's not like you can say, wait, did you mean this or is this what you're trying to say? You don't have that.
Chavez echoes Warachek's hopes that the executive order will be helpful.
That it does turn into something that can help and help catch the children who are behind, and it actually becomes what it says it's going to be.
The governor's order also includes some deadlines. School kids will have to sit for the AZ merit test in April, and the results will have to be reported by November 1st. In Washington, Jake Holter, Cronkite News.
More vaccine administration sites have been added to Arizona. They're at local pharmacies. Thanks to the federal pharmacy program, the government supplied Arizona pharmacies with 200,000 doses of the coronavirus vaccine. Now, anyone currently eligible for the vaccine can register for an appointment at over 200 pharmacies across the state.
Meanwhile, extreme winter weather across the country has delayed COVID vaccine shipments here. The delayed shipments have caused some county health departments to cancel appointments for the next 2 days. The Arizona Department of Health has not specified which counties informed them of cancellations or how people with canceled appointments will be impacted. We do know Maricopa County says they are not canceling appointments at this time.
Today, Arizona surpassed 800,000 reported coronavirus vaccines and 15,000 deaths related to the virus. But after a spike last month, health officials say case numbers and hospitalization has fallen. Tina Giuliano is joining us now with more on that, plus a look at how the pandemic is impacting Ash Wednesday. Tina?
If we take a look at this graph here, this is of all the counties in Arizona. And for the general trend for the country, the cases are decreasing. Here's the Maricopa County line right here, and that shows right here that it is decelerating just a little bit. But despite the declines today being Ash Wednesday, the church is still adapting to the pandemic like they did last year.
Today, Christians around the globe are starting the Lenten season with a visit to church. Ash Wednesday kicks off Lent, which lasts 46 days leading up to Easter Sunday. Many believers mark the occasion with an ash cross on their forehead, which represents death and repentance. But because of the pandemic, the ritual is being altered.
We're very sensitive to the gathering restrictions and not putting people at risk any more than they already are.
According to Vatican guidelines, ashes will be distributed without physical contact. Some churches are sprinkling the ashes over foreheads. At St. Maria Goretti Catholic Church in Scottsdale, they're using a Q-tip to apply the ashes. And there won't be the usual mass.
Such a significant time for us. Starting it off by turning people away is, not what we want to do.
Parish manager Linda Melton said they normally have packed Ash Wednesday masses, but because it isn't a holy day of obligation, St. Maria's decided to cancel the public gatherings.
We want to be able to welcome them all, and for our circumstances, this is the best way that works for us.
The Ash Wednesday changes come the same day that Dr. Joshua LeBaire from the ASU Biodesign Institute delivered some positive news on COVID-19 numbers in our state.
Arizona looks definitely moving in the right direction. People who've been vaccinated, we are not seeing any severe illnesses. No one going to the hospital, no one in the ICU, no one dying. And that's true for all of the vaccines that are approved in the U.S.
LeBaire went on to say those who are fully vaccinated can even interact with others without wearing masks.
If you've been vaccinated and been exposed to someone with virus, but have no symptoms, you do not need to be quarantined.
So for those attending religious gatherings, LeBaire encouraged that they take the usual COVID-19 precautions, including social distancing and masking up. At the Google touchscreen, Tina Giuliano, Cronkite News.
Nearly the entire country is covered in snow, but 3 states remain completely untouched by the winter weather, and Arizona is not one of them. According to the National Weather Service, 76% of the continental United States is covered in snow, except for Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. These 3 states sure are lucky. How's the weather looking here, Faith?
Well, we are seeing some very beautiful weather here in Phoenix, Arizona. We are very lucky. As we take a look at the rest of the country, this active weather is kind of dodging Phoenix entirely. Now let's take a closer look at the rest of the state. These clouds are kind of hanging out in Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon, in the northern Arizona region, completely staying away from us here in Phoenix. Now looking ahead at our high temperatures for tomorrow, it will be about 67 degrees in Phoenix, 68 in Yuma, and our lowest temperature of the state only at about 35 up in Show Low. Now let's take a look at our evening planner for tonight. Around golden hour, it will be 64 degrees, clear skies, a little bit of clouds near 7 p.m., but those will start to dip off, as well as our temperatures reaching the higher 50s near 10 p.m. Now jumping into our 8-day forecast, tomorrow it will be 67 degrees, sunny skies, but we only go up from here. Now looking ahead on Monday, boom, our first 80-degree temperature at 81 degrees, 82 on Tuesday, 83 on Wednesday, a little bit of clouds, but nothing like we're seeing compared to the rest of the country. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Faith Abercrombie. The University of Arizona was chosen by NASA to lead a mission that hopes to see galaxies in a way they've never seen before. The mission, titled Aspera, is receiving $20 million in funding to create a telescope. And the principal investigator leading the mission is one of the youngest to ever do it. Reporter Julia Sandor went down to Tucson to see how the mission is taking off.
It's not often that NASA approves a postdoctoral researcher's proposal, but that was the case for Carlos Vargas.
Typically people propose for these things over 3, 4, 5 years and get lucky every now and then, but it's pretty unheard of for someone to get one on their first try. And this was our very first shot at this mission, so I couldn't have been happier to be selected.
His project, named Aspera, would create a small satellite telescope to study galaxy evolution. It is small enough to fit into the trunk of a car, which is very small when compared to the Hubble Space Telescope. Science team member Dennis Zaritsky explains what they hope to spot with the telescope.
So we can see that there's some gas somewhere, some of the time, around some of these galaxies. Aspera, the aim of Aspera is to actually take a picture of this gas, not just infer it by absorption from here and there, but actually look at a galaxy, a nearby galaxy, and take a picture of that hot gas that surrounds the galaxy. And that hasn't been done before.
He says they're going to detect the gas and measure what the gas is made of. Deputy Principal Investigator Erica Hamden says the project will help them better understand galaxies and the intergalactic medium.
And so we're trying to find the gas that's like not in the galaxy but above and below it, as a way to understand the sort of like life cycle of galaxies and how do they interact with the environment around them.
They will only be able to look at a few galaxies, but they hope to get a sample so they can compare environments and spot trends. Even seeing this gas is difficult, but Vargas says that over the past 10 years, there have been huge leaps and bounds in this arena.
So a lot of this gas we're trying to observe is extremely faint. So the light from it is very, very dim. So you need to build telescopes and detectors that are extremely sensitive. And really just the technology hasn't been there yet.
And now that they have the technology, they're preparing to build the telescope that will eventually be launched into space.
It takes a village to do missions like this. No one person could ever do this on their own for sure.
In Tucson, Julia Sandor, Cronkite News.
The mission is on track to launch in late 2024.
Hi, I'm Garrett Block. After the break,
I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. Baseball is back, and pitchers and catchers report today. D-backs manager Torey Lovello feels the team has something to prove, so don't go away.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed, discover new favorites from PBS, and local content from your PBS station.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
I think he was a terrific father sometimes. I think that he was a loving husband sometimes. I think he was like so many people, except this enormous talent. Hemingway is very complicated. I hate the myth of Hemingway. It obscures the man, and the man is much more interesting than the myth.
Coming in April to Arizona PBS.
Welcome back. I'm Gareth Kwok with your Cronkite Sports Report. Are you ready for some baseball? Spring training gets underway today. Now picture this. A lot of teams' home stadiums are under a blanket of snow right now, but not here in the Valley. They get to enjoy the Cactus League sun as pitchers and catchers report today and tomorrow. It's day one for the D-backs, who are trying to bounce back from a last place finish in the NL West. Manager Torey Lovello is anxious to get started.
Shoulder, I think I always do, but a little bit more so this year. I'm very eager to get going.
The Suns lost a heartbreaker last night as they blew a 21-point halftime lead. It was the return of Steve Nash, who's now at the helm for the Brooklyn Nets, and former ASU star James Harden. The red-hot Suns were about to spoil the homecoming, but the Nets stopped them in their tracks.
The ball movement wasn't there. The urgency just wasn't there, and we gave a team life. You know, one of the best offensive teams in the league, gave them life in the second half.
ASU men's basketball is back in action tonight as they face USC. They've won 3 of their last 4 games, thanks in part to the play of Jalen House. Cronkite News reporter Mason Kern gives us a look at the impact the sophomore guard is having.
Jalen House plays basketball with a different edge. Most of the time, he's angry. With more time spent on the bench than the hardwood, House had good reason to be. His minutes early on were less than anticipated.
I feel like I was just out there at first. I mean, just playing timid
and not trying to come out the game instead of playing my game. I feel like I'm getting back to myself.
A logjam of depth in the backcourt with the return of Remy Martin and Alonzo Verge Jr., plus the addition of transfer Holland Woods and five-star Joshua Christopher, put House deep in the rotation.
A guy like Jalen House, he hasn't always had the opportunities. That's one of the more crowded positions on our team.
House has now settled into his role as an energizer off the bench. The sophomore guard has played 20 or more minutes in 3 of ASU's last 4 games, of which it has lost only 1.
That's the thing about life. If you present an opportunity, you want to try and seize it and take advantage of it.
The son of ASU all-time leading scorer Eddie House, Jalen has buttered his bread on the defensive side of the floor.
Not a lot of people like to play defense, so go out there, try to do something nobody else like to do. I feel like I'm one of the best defenders in our conference.
When you have a guy like that just wants to play defense and wants to, win and bring energy, he's a great teammate.
House has learned to channel his aggression, and the results have directly led to more time on the floor. From Desert Financial Arena in Tempe, Mason Kern, Cronkite News.
ASU softball is also on a roll. Head coach Trisha Ford secured her 300th career victory on Tuesday with her team's doubleheader sweep of Cal State Fullerton. The wins moved the team to 6-0 on the season, and while they gave Ford a celebrated milestone, she says the players make her job easy.
It's not really about me. It's always been about the program and our coaches and our players. I always go back to the fact that I don't play the game. I just, prepare them and mentor them and make sure that they're ready.
That does it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Sedona and Ivory.
Thanks, Gareth. Finally tonight, Scottsdale native Emma Stone is heading back to the silver screen. She plays a younger version of the 101 Dalmatian villain. The film takes place in 1970 London, where fashion designer Cruella de Vil becomes obsessed with dog skin. Glenn Close, who played Delville in 1996 live action, serves as executive producer. The film is slated to be released on May 28th. Disney has not announced plans regarding whether or not the film will be directly released on its streaming service, Disney+. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.